hip hop soul in the crowd. Yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome back in. It is the Rob and Stu Show. It's week 6. It's the college football pick show here on the Pulse Sports Network. We're back on YouTube this week, thankfully, because the Bobcat is not spewing profanities left, right, and center.
He's in a prison cell.
Yeah, he's actually in Boulder. He did not make it out of the USC game. Hate to see that happen. Beautiful stadium, though. He was sending me and Roberto some nice pics. So I hope the jail food is treating him well. JC on assignment. He got out of the furry convention. He was yiffing. He has a whole write-up. It's beautiful. Thank you for that, Chris. He's now on his way to Seattle to march in an Antifa protest. We wish the best of luck to JC. Good luck with that. This week, week 6, brutal week we're coming off of. It's just a horrible week for the show. A lot of bad picks. We're gonna get the ship right. Roberto, we had a nice chat. We had a come to Jesus meeting. We're gonna get the ship right. And it starts tonight. Rob, coming into this week, 13-10 overall, off a 2-2 week. Dogs, 3-2. Locks, 4-1. Doing your part with the locks. What do you got for us?
All right. Let's start off here with an early week. Let's get the good vibes going early. All right. We got the Phillies on. They're in the playoffs. Let's get the vibes going here. No, it's no. No, they got one out, actually. They actually caught a fly ball. Tomorrow night, well, actually, I should say today because the show's coming out Wednesday. And this is just a straight line play for me. I love Middle Tennessee, the Blue Raiders versus Jacksonville State here. They're laying 3. They're a 1-4 team, laying 3.5 to a 4-1 team. That line to me screams.
Okay, since you're bringing up the line, Roberto.
Okay.
You do know what this line opened at, correct?
The line opened at, let me see here. The line opened at Middle Tennessee -5.
6.5.
6.5. And it's down to 3.
3.5.
I like that. I like a 1-4 team as the favorite versus a 4-1 team. I like that. I love that play. That's just a numbers play. I don't know anything. You know me. You guys know way more about these smaller teams.
Hey, Rob, what's the Middle Tennessee State mascot? What is their nickname?
No clue. No clue.
Okay.
They're the blue fungus.
I'm just here to gamble.
They're the blue fungus.
Yeah.
I'm just here
the
to
Blue
gamble.
Falcons of Middle Tennessee.
Now, what is your thoughts? Obviously, you have an opinion on the game. Because
I
you're
love
coming
this
at
game.
me with this ad. Oh, and you love Jacksonville State?
I will. Jacksonville
You love
State.
Jacksonville State because of what Rich Rodriguez did to Michigan. And don't lie. You're betting Jacksonville State on what Rich Rod did to Michigan.
Rich Rodriguez, Zelensky. Are they the same person? They might be. They might be. Some people on Twitter have said that. I played this earlier this week at 6.5 when the line first opened because I just thought that was too many points. And I watched Middle Tennessee against Western Kentucky last week, and Jesus Christ, Chris, you and JVD, we were talking about this Western Kentucky pass defense. It's to say it's bad is like giving it. The Broncos. They are the Broncos pass defense of college football, to put it in perspective.
I will agree. Western Kentucky's defense is pretty bad. I will also say, though, that score could have been a lot closer. Middle Tennessee missed some opportunities to score.
Yeah, they did have – they had that 70-yard bomb that got called back because of just an egregious holding penalty. I think the big thing for me is when you look at Middle Tennessee, their offense is not very I think the Missouri game was an aberration. When you look back, I don't recall if Brady Cook was playing in that game or he got taken out.
He played.
He played. I
Yeah.
don't know what to
That was
make
a
of
look
it.
ahead for Missouri. That was a weird game. The one thing I'll say though is that I think Middle has played a far, far tougher schedule than Jacksonville State.
Oh, that's
And
true.
I think if they played the same schedules, if they flip flop schedules, Jacksonville State would be the 1-14.
I do
No
have
better
a-
than 2-3 because they the Colorado State game, Middle Tennessee did have a yardage edge. They lost the game by 8, but I don't think Jacksonville State's beaten Middle Tennessee either. And Jacksonville State should have lost to both UTEP and Sam Houston. So
This is true. I do have a play on this game. I thought 6.5 was just a little bit too much.
at 6.5, I probably would have taken the dog or stayed away. But I'm kind of with Rob on this one. If I was going to play this game, and
That's what
we
I'm
have to put a
talking
marquee out.
I do have a play on this game. I'll get to it later. Go ahead,
So-
Roberto.
I like the pick, Roberto.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next bet, my lock of the week. And I know we do long shots too, so it's gonna be a little bit of a long shot as well. But I'm gonna go this as my lock because I'm gonna give it out for the people so we can make some money back from last week's bad picks from all of us. Oklahoma money line. I like in this game. I like the way this Oklahoma team is played. Listen, Texas is a great team. Texas is known for laying an egg. I like the Sooners team. I mean, obviously they haven't been really tested yet, I'd say. They're going to get a great test here, obviously, but I don't know, man. I like them in this spot, and I'm going money line at plus 215. I'm taking a big chance on Oklahoma Saturday. I like them a lot.
I think these teams are so even. I believe in what I've seen out of Oklahoma that this is a good offense, a pretty solid defense. I think Texas had the tougher schedule so far this year. I think you could make that case. Rice is a lot better than what we thought initially. Wyoming's a lot better than what we thought initially. The Bama win is nice. I don't mind it. When it got to 6.5, I did make a play on Oklahoma. I did make a small play on Oklahoma because I thought 6.5, and I think you've seen some buyback on that today. 6.5 is a little bit up. To me, when the line came out at 5.
How about the total in this game too? This has to be the lowest total of this game ever at 60.5, right?
I will tell you in a second.
Yeah, Chris has got those numbers.
Thanks to PhilSteele.com. 16.5.
PhilSteele.com.
Last time it was 16.5 was 2018. It went way over. 2015 it was 59.5. It was way under, but yeah, this has typically been a high scoring game. 2 years ago, 55-48. 2020 it was 53-45. 18 it was 48-45. Yeah, there's a lot of high scoring games in this series.
My only concern though, Chris, is that these two defenses are actually pretty good.
I agree with that. I'm staying far away from this game myself. But if I was going to play it, I probably would play the dog because I think that it is definitely a dog series. Let me see what the dog record is in this series.
I would lean towards Oklahoma and the under if I had
favorites actually covered 3 straight, so I'm completely wrong about that. But the dog covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the 8 previous to that year, previous to those 3. So it's gonna be an interesting game. There's no way it's gonna be like last year. I know that for sure.
No. All right, Roberto with the Sooners, Boomer Sooner. What else you got?
All right. Another play for me this week, the BC Army under. I think this is a little high, this game at 50.5. I mean, BC, they did come back in the second half last week. Army with that new defense, but 50.5, I think that's way too high.
I bet when I first saw this game, I wanted to bet the over. And my thought was BC has a competent enough offense. I thought it was going to be a replay of like the Holy Cross Boston College game from a few weeks ago, where BC's able to move the ball. They got a power running game. Castellanos is much more seasoned than what he was. They can score some points. And it ends up 28-34, 31-27, something like that.
Yeah.
To see the line move down 2 full points on the total is giving me some pause. Chris, you got any thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I don't like Boston College's defense a whole lot, but they do play well against the run. These when Army plays these ACC teams, it either goes way over like the games against Wake Forest, or like the Syracuse game, it goes a decent bit under. The only thing I'll say is that I don't the big issue that that Army runs into sometimes, where they struggled with a team like Wake Forest a couple years ago, was defending the pass, because they don't see a lot of seasoned passing teams. And even looking this year, ULM doesn't have a good passing offense. Delaware State's atrocious. UTSA had their backup quarterback. Syracuse, Garrett Schrader, but they were running Garrett Schrader more in that game than they were.
Frank Harris was out for the UTSA game.
Yeah, it was Eddie Lee Marburger.
Real quick, for anybody that didn't watch, besides the buffoonery on Michigan State sidelines, the dumbest coaching I've seen in quite some time, ULM App State. Did you get a chance to see the end of that, Chris?
I didn't.
So App State gets the ball with a minute left in the game. They're at their own 25. They have no timeouts. App State is going straight to the sideline. ULM proceeds to play some prevent zone defense along the middle of the field. 3 straight passes right along the sideline. Field goal kicker hits a 54-yarder for App State to win. Unbelievable. Like, literally just unbelievable. But yeah, ULM put up like 38 on App State. I don't know how much of that was passing versus running, but
ULM ran for 203. They threw for 268 though. But the first game of the year against Army, that they hadn't had their passing attack ready yet. Actually, They had been held under 100 passing yards in all their first 3 games. 92, 99, 95. And then they threw for 268 against App State. That says something about App State's pass D.
It says a lot. Watching that game says a lot. Besides the fact that App State has nice uniforms. Roberto, what else you got?
All right, 2 more plays for me for this week. I like Louisville at home, the 6.5. I think Notre Dame is just coming off big games after big game. Last week at Duke, they struggled, but they got it together on that final drive, that 4th and 16. What a play from Sam Howell. I don't think the Louisville team, obviously, they didn't play good on the road at North Carolina State, but I kind of like that. Coming back home off a bad performance, they came back in the second half and got that win. And I also like Cal against Oregon State. I thought it was a huge win for Oregon State the other night. I think it's a good bet I think Cal's a good bet, getting 9.5 coming back home and, facing a team like that off such a big win. So those are my
which one's your dog?
Dog's going to be Cal.
So you got Cal and Louisville. What are the lines on those games, Rob?
9.5 and 6.5.
All righty. That are the picks for Mr. Rob, our good friend, our Edgels fan. Killing it on the NFL side, we got NFL picks coming at you tomorrow. Or, yes, as you hear this, tomorrow. So get pumped for that. Next up, he is Mr. Tuesday Night. He's the whole effing show. He is CVD, Chris Van Dine, North Coast Sports. Congrats on your FCS game of the month, my friend. Western Carolina, easy winner. Pays to get with these guys for their FCS plays. I mean, you guys do nail it out of the park. CVD struggling so far. I wish we could play the FCS games here. 14-19, 1-6 on the dogs, 2-5 on the Locks.
Did I even win a game last week?
You did, Notre Dame.
Oh man, what a bad week. Dude, I actually was so angry. I deleted my Twitter. I deactivated my Twitter for a short while.
There have been people reaching out across this great nation asking about CBD's Twitter.
Yeah, I'm back.
He's back, folks.
Came to my senses. It was a rough Saturday. It was a rough Saturday. There was, even the FCS, we won the game of the month, but a couple of Samford killed me. Samford absolutely should have covered. That was the killer with that was at the end of the game. Samford, Michael Hires, who I was really frustrated with, he threw 2 interceptions on his own side of the field, and East Tennessee State had 2 short touchdown drives. They only had 1 touchdown drive the whole game. And Sanford's laying 16.5. They go down, they score to make it a 21-point game in the fourth quarter. I'm like, sweet, they're going to cover. And then they let them run a 70-yard touchdown. First play, ETSU has the ball. Then they drive down. It looks like they're going to get in field goal range. They make a run to the 20-yard line. Hires gets hit late. So I'm thinking, oh, sweet, we're going to have the ball half the distance, put it at the 10. All we need is a field goal to cover. Oh, wait, they called a hold, so they brought it back. They gave them didn't really offset because the penalty, the late hit was after the play. But it took away the run, and then Hires got hurt on the play, so he comes out of the game. They put the backup in. The backup just runs up the middle 3 times. And then on 4th down, they go for it instead of kicking the field goal. And the snap gets snapped over the quarterback's head. And then they get the ball back and then end the game on a 7-yard line. If East Tennessee State would have used their last time out, they'd have forced Sanford to kick a field goal, and they didn't. So that sucked. But
ETSU dead. Sanford dead to both of us.
That Sanford game. I log on to the Sanford football live.
Welcome to degeneracy, Roberto.
It is.
Welcome to it.
For degeneracy, they have a chance to go up 17, and these guys kneel on the ball with around 2 minutes left. I was sick to my stomach.
CVD.
I watched the whole game. I watched every play of that game.
I want to give a shout out.
There's no reason that shouldn't have been a 28 to 35-point game instead of a 14-point game.
Wait, how about they're up 21 and on the first handoff?
First play, 70-yard touchdown.
Stonehill was a good call, though.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That was a sneaky cover. Hey, I do want to give a quick shout out.
And Hampton. If you used Hampton, I don't know. Did I give you Hampton? Did I talk about that one? Oh man,
I would never use it. I would never.
Richmond was down to their 3rd string quarterback.
I can't even bet the game.
The line was plus 17.5. Hampton ended up winning by 10.
I want to give a shout out. Power Sweep podcast a few weeks ago. Stone Labamowitz, good dude. Listen to him. He brought up some great points about Albany, and I'm a Great Danes fan. Already game of the year, Great Danes. Easy, plus 120. So that helped a little bit.
That's good.
But Saturday was horrific for everybody.
Yeah, a lot of handicappers. It wasn't just us, but we had a really bad day, really bad. All right,
can't get any worse.
Don't ever say. All right, I'm going to start with my lock. I'm going Clemson. First off, I think that they are kind of in a angry, we're gonna beat the crap out of everybody mode. They really laid it on Syracuse physically last week. Held Syracuse to 286 yards, 17-point win on the road. I think that is a pretty good Syracuse team. Now they're getting what I think is a pretty bad Wake Forest team at home. Mitch Griffiths is not Sam Hartman. He's already thrown 6 interceptions this year, completing, a little less than 60%, which is a decent bit less than what Sam Hartman was completing during his Wake Forest time. And it just doesn't look the same offensively for Wake Forest right now. And defensively, it's the same, Wake Forest team that is susceptible, especially on the ground. Georgia Tech ran for 158 on them. And Georgia Tech also had 8 sacks against Wake Forest. So that was
the same Georgia Tech team who just got absolutely
by Bowling Green.
By Bowling Green.
Yeah.
At home.
And Wake Forest lost that game by 14 at home to Georgia Tech. The week before that, they were at Old Dominion. Don't get me started on Old Dominion right now. But at Old Dominion, they won that game by 3, but they were down 17-0 at halftime and were getting outgained by 150 yards. That's not a good Old Dominion team. This Wake Forest team is not what we've seen in the past. And 4 out of the last 5 times they've played, Clemson has won this game by 21 points or more. The reason that's important because the line's 21. I think the Tigers are going to win this game by 30-35.
Go Tigers.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those games where Clemson really flexes their muscles. I think this could be a decent blowout. And Clemson, typical defense for them. So I don't think that Wake Forest is going to get on the board very much. I'm going to go. I know Stu's going to hate this. I'm going to go Michigan. Stu, you were right about Michigan last week. I should have listened to you. I ended up putting a small.
Well, there were criminals. Is that what you're referring to?
They stole my money like a criminal last week. Man, they beat the crap out of Nebraska last week. Minnesota, not a very good football team. Has already lost to Northwestern. Good job, Rob, on the upset call in that game. Did not look good in the first half against Eastern Michigan earlier this season. Barely got by and was lucky to get by Nebraska. That same Nebraska team that Michigan just throttled was losing at halftime last week to Louisiana. Ended up, they pulled away in that game, but 11-point win wasn't really indicative of how that game was being played. I just think Michigan is probably going to be in that. I'm not going to curse because I don't want to get Stu in trouble on YouTube again. That screw you mode where they're going to start blowing teams out now that Harbaugh's back. Going to flex a muscle a little bit on a Minnesota team that can't match up. And Michigan has generally dominated this series. Last 3 wins, last year by 25, 23 the year before that, and trying to look what this line is currently at.
I've seen it at 20, but I think there's some soft 19.5s out there, but
I got 19.5.
Yeah, I think it's going to move to 20, and I wouldn't be surprised by kickoff if it's 20.5. I would bet this one early.
I would too, because there's no reason to bet Minnesota, but a lot of reason to bet Michigan.
And believe me, all those slap dicks are going to the Walmart Wolverine fans. They'll be out on their DraftKings and FanDuel bet the Wolverines.
I'm gonna go. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna follow Rob on Middle Tennessee because I do like it.
What a bunch of wow! No respect for the Cox.
I'm following Rob on that one. What I saw out of Jacksonville State for 3 quarters last week wasn't good.
Love it.
My dog. I'm going Oklahoma State, getting I believe 11 points on Friday. 11.5.
12. I've seen it up to 12.
I think that's way too much. This is a sellout crowd for Oklahoma State. Despite some struggles, they are pretty excited for this game. And I like the fact that they moved the ball a little bit last week, 409 yards. They lost at Iowa State. But that's a tough place to play. Off a loss, I think they're going to circle the wagons. Mike Gundy is not going to let this team go in the tank And I just think that at home, getting double digits against the Kansas State team that might have been a little overrated to start the season. Let's be honest. I don't think, what was their rank at the start of the season? They were borderline
Like
top
13, 14.
Yeah, top 15. I don't think they were as good as people thought, and I think they're still a little overrated. They played a UCF team that was missing their starting quarterback last week. I think that Oklahoma State, and the other thing I like about Oklahoma State, that the non-conference play, it was basically they treated it like preseason. They were playing 3 different quarterbacks. They finally settled on one. Alan Bowman threw for 278 yards last week. He looks like the best of the 3. So I think that solid play on Oklahoma State.
That's not a great sign.
No, I get it. He is a veteran, though, and I think with the home crowd behind him, I think that he can at least be competent enough to not make big mistakes. And, like I said, I don't think Kansas is good enough to be laying double digits to a decent team on the road. And finally, I'm taking Texas A&M this week. I'll tell you what, having watched both teams play, I think Bama's got one big problem, especially on the road where they have struggled the last couple of years. This offensive line for Bama has problems. Even last week, gave up 4 sacks. They're not running the ball like a typical Alabama team, 4.1 yards per carry. Just not what we're used to from Alabama. On the other hand, all that NIL money that went to the defensive line 2 years ago, we're starting to see that show up for Texas A&M because they are absolutely dominating in the trenches. 7 sacks last week, 7 sacks the week before against Auburn. And that holding Auburn to 200 yards 2 weeks ago looks a little better after we saw Auburn move the ball against Georgia. So I think that A&M has a definitive edge
Now,
in the
CVD. I'm going to give you an option. I'm going to give you an option for Texas A&M because
I know you're going to offer the money.
I'm going to offer you. You can either go money line, or you can buy up a point because I know it's down to 2.5. Do you want the plus 3.5, and it'll still count, or do you want the money line?
You know what? I'm going to be ballsy. I'm going to take the money line. I think they win this game. There's a lot of people. I actually had someone say this today. Well, Alabama's not going to lose a second game. Why not? Why not? This is not what we know Alabama to be. They're not a dominant football team this year. And I'm going to get to one of the teams that they weren't very dominant against real quick before I shut my picks down. I'm going South Florida against UAB. Tell me what game has South Florida played that was bad? They haven't played a bad game all year.
They cost me approximately $300 against Rice.
I mean,
I sent that idea to you, and you never said no. I blame you.
You know what? I had 3 people. Jim liked Rice. I had 3 people in the office. You liked Rice. Jim liked Rice. And I didn't know everyone was saying they like Rice, and I just didn't know what to do with it. And I was like, why are we so confident in Rice? But
have you seen JT Daniels' luscious locks?
Hey, they're playing better football. I just was surprised
Rice realistically probably should have won that game. They were living in the USF red zone that entire game. But it just USF either creating a turnover or Rice just mismanaging, bad play calling, what have you.
Brown threw for 435 that game. I'll tell you what, Golish's offense that he brought from Tennessee is starting to look like what we expected it to, or what you would hope it to. And the defense has been competent enough to win games. I think Navy's a better team than UAB. Rice is a better team than UAB. That Western Kentucky game at the beginning of the year, remember, I liked Western Kentucky in that game. I don't know if I gave it on this show, but we used that as a late phone play, and we were very lucky because Western Kentucky was not covering, and they got a strip by Donut Evans and returned it for a touchdown in the fourth quarter, like 10 minutes left. And then South Florida almost went down and scored that would have covered for them. They're playing good football. I don't see what UAB has done. I mean, they played Tulane better than I expected them to, but laying 3.5, I'll take South Florida. I think they have the better coach, and they have the better system right now. So I think this is going to be a team that, people are going to catch on to. They're going to be dangerous. Alex Golesh. I really like Alex Golesh.
Donut Evans, future Philadelphia Eagle, 6th round
right.
pick. Yeah, he'll fit in right in line with that fat ass line. Jordan Davis, so overrated. Jalen Carter, garbage heap.
Oh, you bastard.
Fletcher Cox is already dead. He died 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Evans.
let's just draft a running back in the top 12. Hey, we're keeping him on.
That's
the bench.
assault.
Thanks.
That is assault.
And they have a great team. How about Witherspoon last night, though? Did he look good or what?
He looked good. He looked good. That Seattle defense is close to being something. It's time for the main event. It's time for, Big Papa Pump to come through. Just absolutely destroying the league right now. Bobcat, he did not send in picks. Like I said at the up front, he's in Colorado still hanging out with Prime. He's close. All right.
I'm curious what his thoughts on the Alabama game are.
I got a text Sunday morning at about 10:35 Eastern. Alabama's going to win. And that was it. That's all he's talked to me. That's all he sent me. Bobcat 24-17. He was actually the only winning record last week out of his 28 picks. He was up 2. He went 9-7. 24-17. Closing in on me. I'll say that. Dogs 3-5. Locks 4-2. I know people want to hear that, but it's on to me. Leader in the clubhouse, 28-18. Bad week. Went 3-3 last week. Let's see if we can repair it. Chris, I'm with you. I'm taking the war criminals. Look, sometimes the United States makes bad deals with terrorists. Sometimes you have to deal with terrorists. And yeah, I'm going to take ISIS. I will take ISIS. I'm going to take the 19.5. But I urge you, Michigan has a way of winning games. It's always 34-7, 31-10. And it's whether it's UNLV, whether it's Hawaii, whether it's whoever, U of M has a stereotypical way they win. The Nebraska thing was just wild. I think I chalked that up to Nebraska just not being good. Minnesota at home, night game, rivalry. I really want 19.5. I would buy it down if it gets up to 20.5. Just to be a little bit safe, give yourself a little bit of cushion, because this very easily could be a 31-7 game. And I don't know that you want to be sweating. Or 30-7. Could be something like that. But I'll take the war criminals. Bobcat. I love Bobcat. Especially the Ohio types. -27. I was a little worried when this game posted and it was -26 against Kent State. It's now starting to slowly go up. Gave me a little bit of extra confidence. I'll bet anything under 28. Kent State is, Chris, if I said Kent State is 2019 Akron bad, is that a fair assessment?
Possibly. I mean, they had 0 starters coming back on offense. They lost that entire team.
And you're about to go against.
It wasn't like they were great. They lost their whole offense, and their only strength was their offense. Their quarterback left to be the backup at UCLA. Maybe even third string. I don't know. He ain't playing.
My thing with Ohio is this is probably I've always been making a case this year. Ohio was my pick for the MAC. I think Ohio might be the best, if not the second best MAC team. And I think the MAC's a little bit stronger than people think this year. Certainly Central Michigan's a lot better than what people thought. Ohio laying the 27 at home against Kent State. I'm a totals guy this week. I got a totals game of the year coming up. Totals game of the year. Wait. First total. Life's too short to bet the over. And that's what I always say. Chris, you always say it's to bet the under. I always say to bet the over. Give me the under. Jacksonville State, MTSU, under 51.5. I think MTSU's defense is not horrible when they find the right competition. Jack State has a pretty solid defense. That's what we know about them. Sans last week against Sam Houston State. I have no idea where that came from. But I'm going to just play with what I've seen for the most part of this season. 51.5 seems a little bit too high to me, so I'm going to take the under there. That is a Wednesday night special. Let's go to Thursday night.
Ooh,
Western Kentucky, La Tech over 59.5. I think both these teams score. Louisiana Tech, Bachmeier's still out. Is it still Turner?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know Bachmeier didn't play last week, obviously, but I'm not sure about this week.
I think Louisiana Tech, this strikes me as a game played in the 30s for both teams. I like the over here quite a bit. 59.5. Doggy of the week. I'm with you, Chris. A&M money line. Shout out to the Bobcat. For the reasons you've said, I just think A&M will actually, I think they have the talent advantage, which is something you rarely can say when talking about Alabama versus anybody. I think A&M has a talent advantage. I think Max Johnson is actually not that bad. He is a capable, competent SEC quarterback. It's not.
Yeah, I would have appreciated him not throwing that pick six in the second half. I had the under in the A&M game last week. Let me tell you, 2 defensive touchdowns, a punt return touchdown, and then Arkansas finally decides to throw a touchdown pass in the last 5 minutes of the game. Oh, you got to be kidding me.
It was a bad week for you, CVD. It'll get better.
Bad week for everybody.
Bad week for everybody. Oh, yeah.
You guys are making me feel better because I felt like the dumbest handicapper in the entire world last weekend. I just suck at my job.
There you
like,
go.
I'm actually paid a salary to do this. And when I lose, I feel like an idiot.
Well, listen, anybody out there that wants to pay me to make picks, hit me up. Stu's my agent. So
yeah, you'll find him.
And if you guys ever want to move to Cleveland, we'd love to have you. We could use some help. You just have to be willing to sit in an office that smells like beef and cheese 7 days a week. You don't get off days really. At least from football season, you have to be in the office. August to December. Holidays aren't really, holiday pay and stuff like that, and vacation pay aren't really a thing.
That's exciting.
I don't want to continue, but if you ever want to move to Cleveland, we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
We're in. Me and Stu, we're getting a one.
We're in.
Yeah.
As long as we can work in the same house and know that when College Football 24 drops on PlayStation,
we're ready.
We're done. You're
gonna have fruit flies flying all around you. Mice occasionally.
I've already told my wife we're getting divorced when that game comes out.
A lot of Bush's baked beans. You know what I mean?
It's gonna be something special, folks.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Kentucky. But yeah, A&M money line. And I want to get to my game of the year totals edition. 2-0 on the game of the year plays. Great Danes and the Huskies. I like dogs, but today I'm going away from dogs. I'm a dog guy. I'm going away from dogs. And I was thinking, what is my lock going to be? And it hit me. Kind of like Jersey Jerry with the signs. Shout out Jersey Jerry. I was thinking about where were we this summer, Rob? Where were we? We were at a crawfish boil. Spicy seasonings, And
Ah.
then I was thinking, who likes crawfish? Is it Rob? No. Well, of course, but he's fat. He's fat. But skinny people like crawfish as well. So I was then thinking, well, it's not fat people like Rob, fat slobs like Rob. It's not that. It's Southern people. Southern people love crawfish.
Yes,
right?
they do.
So then I'm thinking Southerners. And I'm like, okay, who do I know that's Southern that loves crawfish? And I thought J.C. Shelton. J.C. Shelton. But he wasn't at the crawfish boil. He was proposing to his fiancée at an Olive Garden.
That's right.
But it's not J.C. Shelton. Not J.C. Shelton. Who else was there? Who else was Southern? And that's crawfish boil. And then I said, Bobcat. Bobcat's from Fairhope, Alabama. So he's Southern.
Yeah.
Bobcat, Southern, Cajun season, Texas State, ULL, Raging Cajuns, over 69 game of the year. Book it. Favorite number, favorite position, 69, book it, game of the year. Winner.
I think he just made up that whole thing so I could get called a fat slob.
Bet it now. Bet it now. Or Saturday, whenever. Over. They are going to score 1 billion points.
Hey, is TJ Finley's resurrection not one of the
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Most shocking college football stories of the year? Hugh Freeze wanted nothing to do with this dude, and now he's at Texas State balling.
I am not giving a single reason why I'm betting this over, except I went to a crawfish boil at the Bobcats.